Welcome to round 7 of TEPCOTT Season 6. Now this was a round that really proved how broken this game is. Unfortunately we had to do several restarts of the round to get it actually done. But luckily everyone pulled together, so we managed to finish this round. Now the first start attempt was already ruined from the gridding when a modder decided to come in and blow the whole lobby up. We couldn't even get the race going on the first attempt. So then we decided to try again, started a new lobby, gridded up again and got the race going. Now I managed to get a pretty decent start from the launch. It kind of surprised me how well it went. Although I knew how difficult it would be when the race moved from this wider road section into the narrow vineyard area. Although we never made that far, as I got a small shunt in the back which spun me out and basically put me right behind the whole grid. Now I knew this was going to be a challenge to work my way back up. These hill sections are the ones that I feel like I struggle with the most. So my confidence for this round ending in a decent result wasn't really that high. So basically all I could wish for was to have others have some trouble around here in these opening laps. That way I could nab myself some positions. Now this area around these hills really don't provide much in terms of overtaking opportunities. So the only way realistically to gain positions is to just have the other driver make a mistake and then just make sure that you don't get caught up in that. So in that sense it made much more sense to try to drive a bit more carefully, which in turn would give me a bit more time to react in case something happens, and hopefully that way I could have gained more positions. But overall this end of the hill section proved out to be a pretty clean one, so not many crashes happened, and that way I could not really gain anything from trying to drive a bit more carefully. So I knew this was going to be a long race of trying to get clean laps in order to have any chance of getting a decent end result. But that also meant that other drivers had to get some troubles on their drive for me to take any advantage from. But here we come around to the end of the first lap, and then we get to the part where I get some overtakes done by others making mistakes. First Parks goes out, and then Askorbiini had an outing, forcing them to respawn, followed by pretty much immediately by catching up to Paulie and gaining one position from Storm G, who had crashed out. And then we had this little group of drivers going through the hills, but eventually that pack broke out, and then turning to the Great Ocean Highway, Free Skid was able to overtake me. Now pretty soon after going to the next lap, Oleg had some problems, as well as Free Skid ended up driving off the road. Pretty soon after that, Unified Muffin had a unfortunate spin out, blocking the road. Luckily, only Askorbiini was able to pass me, and then later down through the hills, Kirby made a mistake, giving me that position back. Now, unfortunately, my fairly decent drive getting positioned back was spoiled by a modder hitting our race lobby again, which then caused us to postpone the race to a later date. Now, luckily, through some perseverance and dedication from the organizers, we managed to set up a new date when we could actually get this race done in a proper manner. The race restarted from the positions that we were in at the tail end of the previous attempt, where the modder decided to destroy the lobby. Now this restart was fairly decent from my end until we got to this hill section, where I tried to avoid contact with True, which only resulted in me getting punted to the rear and then sending Judson into the tree, which was really unfortunate, but I just didn't have any control over that. Now this restart going uphill around this vineyard section still proved out to be somewhat problematic to drivers, with several drivers going off the track and otherwise crashing out, which luckily for me meant that I could gain back quite a few positions from what I had lost in the previous restart. Now my aim was to get some good, decent and clean laps at the start of the race when the crashes were much more frequent, in hopes that I could actually get a fairly decent end result for myself. But I knew that faster drivers like Skid here and then later on Judson was going to be catching up to me, and then eventually were going to be overtaking me. And from then on I knew that there was a pack of drivers slowly catching up to me, so I decided to take my pit stop, because I knew I just was not going to be able to fight against them, and that way when I take my mandatory pit stop out of the way, it also meant that I could keep on driving while they had to take their own pit stops. Now my pit exit I had to take really carefully, as Paulie and Benny were fighting together, and I really didn't want to cause them to end up in a crash. And to my surprise, my early pit strategy seemed to have actually worked, as I gained quite a few positions from the faster drivers in front of me, taking their respective pit stops. And over the course of the following laps, I was able to get a fairly decent gap between myself and the other drivers, while I was driving pretty much on my own, until eventually Alex caught up to me and managed to take that overtake. Now, because I knew that he was so much faster than I was, I really wasn't defending that hard, and just decided to let him go past. And from then on, it was pretty much solo driving on my own all the way to the checkered flag. Now, given all the troubles that we faced to get this round finished, I'm fairly happy that we actually got a decent race going at the end, and overall managed to get a pretty fun and good race out of it.